8:37. COVID has crippled the sports world. Athletes, more of whom are testing positive. Mike Bako is the sports editor of the dailynational.com, and he joins us this morning right now with some insight on the future of sports in COVID times. Mike, good to see you.
Good to see both of you.
So, Mike, let's get to it, because every day we're hearing about another sports star testing positive for COVID, but that didn't stop, let's say, boxing promoters from selling tickets to fans for this weekend's match between Gervonta Davis and Leo Santa Cruz in San Antonio. Should that match even be happening?
Well, I mean, there's so much money on the line right now. So that fight took place in San Antonio at the Alamo Dome. Usually that facility can hold upwards of 60,000 people, usually for basketball games and football games. Certainly for a big fight like that, that was on everyone's radar with these two up-and-coming fighters. Only 9,000 spectators. So you see the difference in the money lost, and you see the difference in the money lost when it comes to NFL games, college football games, even this year with Major League Baseball, playing the World Series in a neutral site there in Arlington, Texas. They had about anywhere between 10 and 15,000 fans for the National League Championship Series and for the World Series. So when there's money on the line, these leagues and these promoters, when it comes to boxing, are going to find any way to make that money, and that's bringing in fans.
Yeah, well, let me talk about baseball for a second, because the COVID controversy is really overshadowing the World Series champion LA Dodgers because of Justin Turner's actions. Now, as you know, he was pulled from Game 6 because he tested positive, but then he was seen celebrating with his teammates on the field afterwards. Do you think the MLB should suspend or fine him?
I mean, it was a horrible look for Major League Baseball. After a World Series that, by all regards, was great. They had some classic games. The Dodgers finally winning since 1988, one of the storied franchises in baseball. And all people were talking about were Justin Turner getting pulled from the game and then coming back onto the field, not only coming onto the field to celebrate, in most cases, talking to his other players, front office people, other family members of players without his mask on, completely flouting any Major League Baseball rules. Major League Baseball did put out a strongly worded statement that said that we advised him not to come onto the field. He defied our rules for coming onto the field. Not a good look for Major League Baseball, not a good look for Justin Turner, but it also shows how precious these things can be. He was pulled from Game 6 of the World Series. If the Dodgers had blown that game and there was a Game 7, one of their best players, their integral players, would not have been able to play. So that's the thin line that all of these teams in these leagues are playing with right
Safety
now.
first, safety first. And for Justin Turner, you have a bunch of young people watching you as a role model.
Looking up to you.
And so you test positive. I know it's the World Series. I know you want to celebrate. It's a once-in-a-lifetime. May never experience it again. But safety's first, and image is everything. And it was just a bad look, like you said. The NFL's most recent round of COVID testing haven't turned up any positive cases, Mike, which means all games for Week 8 can go forward. What about players, though, who have already tested positive, right, like Cam Newton? When will they be allowed to play again?
Well, Cam Newton actually was able to, after not playing for a couple of weeks, came back and played. One of the things that you've been seeing with some of these players that are coming back is their conditioning, the fact that they've been out of practice for a couple of weeks, certainly whatever the ramifications were of what they were dealing with COVID-19. Now, Cam Newton came back, was actually benched in the game that he came back in. So that was partly due to play, partly due to how the Patriots are doing. So you never really fully know how this is affecting the actual players. And when you look at some of the players who were affected by it, we're talking about Justin Turner before Major League Baseball. He's a free agent. Cam Newton's going to be a free agent next year. Millions of dollars, again, on the line for their health and their performance.
Can we talk for a second about poor Daniel Jones, who just has 2 left feet, apparently, and couldn't score that touchdown?
You're just not going to let him live that down. Speaking, let's talk about
with him forever.
Yeah, I know. And speaking of the Giants, hey, so what do we have? Monday Night Football, right here on PIX 11, which is great. But, there are a few close calls over the past week. Players had a quarantine. How do you think this game's going to go off?
Well, I mean, the Giants season is kind of hopeless at this point. They're looking forward to potentially being able to draft a different quarterback. You mentioned Daniel Jones, their highly drafted quarterback from a few years ago, but they would love to get their hands on a quarterback who just recently tested positive for COVID, Trevor Lawrence, the star quarterback for Clemson. So, this season is a bit of a lost cause. You look across the field and you see Tom Brady still doing it at 43 years old.
43?
No matter no matter where he is, whether he's in New England with the Patriots or now with the Tampa Bay Bucks, he's playing at the top of his game.
All right, so Daniel
right
Jones versus Tom Brady. Prediction for tonight?
Unfortunately, I think it's going to be a whitewash for the Bucks. I think they're running on all cylinders, and they've got their offense clicking. The Giants just really don't have any hope. You just hope for a close game since it's on Monday Night Football and on PIX 11.
Brutal, Mike. Poor Giants can't catch a break.
I know. All right. Thank you. We appreciate it. Monday Night Football.
Always good to be with you.
Absolutely. Right here on PIX.